People often ask me if I can recommend some good resources that they can read on defending the faith. They want to know how to articulate the faith well. They want to know how to be knowledgeable in tackling difficult questions. They want to know how they can explain reasons why one should believe in God and why one should believe the Christian faith. Well, I have several recommendations. One of the foremost recommendations I have is to check out the Stand to Reason website, str.org. I've learned a lot from these people. I don't agree with every single point of theology that's raised on their website or in their materials, but they're very good about being careful. They set a good example of how to think carefully and think meticulously. Clear thinking apologetics is what they provide. And I think people can learn a lot from them. They're very thorough. They strike a good balance between being thorough and scholarly and making their material accessible to people. In other words, explaining it in a way that lay people can understand. Their materials aren't always easy, but guess what? We can't always strive for what's easy. Sometimes we have to work a little hard, which is why I commend those people that do want to study these matters more thoroughly. A lot of people like books like The Case for Faith, The Case for Christ, The Case for a Creator by Lee Strobel, or the Evidence That Demands a Verdict series by Josh McDowell. And those are all good resources. I'm not trying to criticize those books at all. In fact, I encourage people to read them. However, these are more or less entry-level resources. The Josh McDowell books are good at presenting facts. The Lee Strobel books, well, he interviews a lot of experts, and so he gives you some insight into the way they think, but the books tend to concentrate on breadth rather than depth. I always encourage people to check out the works of those experts that Lee Strobel interviews, because that will allow them to tackle these subjects more deeply and more thoroughly, presenting a more precise, more articulate case, more well-informed case for why we should believe in Jesus Christ, why we should believe the Bible, why we should believe that Jesus is who he claimed he was, and so forth and so on. Why is there a God? Along those lines, I'd like to introduce this one book that I've really enjoyed in recent times, The Case for the Resurrection of Jesus. It was written by Gary Habermas, who is one of the scholars that Lee Strobel interviewed, and Michael Licona, who is an up-and-coming star and an expert in the resurrection of Jesus, along with Gary Habermas. They are doubtlessly among the greatest experts in all of history. I like The Case for the Resurrection of Jesus because it attempts to present a case for believing that Jesus rose from the dead using only facts that are commonly accepted by historians. In other words, that are accepted by about 99% of all historians. I'm talking about the fact that Jesus died on the cross. Virtually no one denies that. I'm talking about the fact that the disciples genuinely believed they had met the risen Jesus Christ. Again, lay people may scoff at that notion, but historians, people who study the matter thoroughly, who apply rigorous historical standards, who are familiar with the body of work both within the Gospels and outside the Gospels, accept that the disciples genuinely believed this. I'm talking about the conversion of the Apostle Paul. That's a third fact there. From being a persecutor of the faith to being one of the foremost leaders of the faith. Similarly, the skeptic James, the brother of Jesus, went from being a scoffer to being someone who became a leader within the Christian church. All four of those facts are commonly accepted, even among skeptical historians, even among those who don't believe in God and don't believe in the resurrection. And what Habermas and Licona do is they attempt to present a case for the resurrection of Jesus Christ using those four facts. And I think they do a very good job of it. Now, I'm sure that some skeptics out there would say, wait a minute, how can you claim that Jesus rose from the dead? How can you possibly claim that? Can't possibly be true. You know what? I'm not here to debate that point. I'm here to offer a recommendation right now for literature you can read. I urge people, before you go scoffing at this notion, check out the books themselves. In other words, become informed, whether you're a believer or a non-believer. I think they present an excellent case for the resurrection being the best, most clear and most cogent explanation for these facts. And I think that attempts to dismiss their arguments are really weak and unfounded. They are extremely thorough. Their footnotes provide excellent insights into the historical background behind these claims. I also recommend some websites. GaryHabermas.com, one of the authors I mentioned, has his own website, GaryHabermas.com. The other author has a website at RisenJesus.com, and I invite people to check them out. Another expert on the resurrection is Dr. William Lane Craig, and I invite people to check out his virtual office, which is his place on the web, so to speak. And he offers a lot of wonderful articles and debate transcripts covering topics such as the resurrection, the existence of God, the empty tomb, and well, basically reasons why we should accept the Christian faith as being credible. So as I said, I invite people to check these things out. I think you learn a lot. These sorts of things have inspired me to not only study apologetics more, but also to deepen my faith and deepen my study of the Word. Because the more I learn about Christianity, the more I learn about reasons for believing the faith, the more inspired I am to serve the Lord God, my Master, and to share His Word and to obey Him with every fiber of my being. And I hope that will be your experience as well.